Be on in 1 sec, guys. Hold on. All right, guys, can you hear me? Let me know. Cool, cool. All right. Oh, man. I played soccer for the first time in like 2 years yesterday. So my body is completely crushed. I don't know why I ever played that sport. So much running. But it felt good. So mostly pink sheets and OTCs on my scans today. I closed my overnight this morning. First thing, I had some PBYA left from Friday. Just one of those things, a multi-day breakout. I've been missing all these OTC multi-day breaks. And the way I played it was just kind of speculative, but I ended up with kind of a big position. You can see on the daily, the breakout was here at 18 cents or so. Sorry, it's a high here. Yeah, 18 cents. Whoa, whoa, whoa. 0.032 cents, my bad. And then it just kind of set up on the daily. There's that 0.3032 level. Was doing really good volume, actually, which is another thing that got me into this in the first place. But you can see it just kind of held that breakout level going into the afternoon Friday. Or going into, yeah, the afternoon on Friday. So I ended up with like 300,000 shares at 0.035 or 0.036, something like that. And yeah, got a sweet spike into the close. I took a little over half off into the close just to lock in like 4K, 3K or so. So I sold that into the 4 cent, high 4 cent, high 5 cent range. And just took the rest off this morning, woke up and took the rest off right into the open. It seemed kind of weak. Plays like this, you know, it actually moves pretty quickly considering. So I just kind of sold the rest into what little pop we got this morning. And I made about 7K on the trade, I think. So yeah, decent trade. Nothing really to learn on something like this. It was, you know, the same kind of pattern we've been seeing recently in OTCs. So that was PBYA. Today, we had Fred was kind of like the main runner this morning. And another one where it's the float's not tiny, that you get a 25 million float or so. The news was that Walgreens was purchasing pharmacy files from 185 Fred's pharmacies across the U.S. And they would be paid 165 million or so. Yeah, so I mean that's great news. I mean they are getting a lot of operating cash flow. They're still able to maintain their retail stores and stuff like that. So it's good for them. Obviously, stock reacted well and kind of consolidating near its highs right now. So, like I said, I didn't really trade anything this morning. I've been working with the web developer, we're just trying to get this website to where I want it to be come next month. But regardless, here's Fred. It's a good chart. It's a good intraday chart, and it kind of similar to like MNKD last week, where you got a gap up and it held up. And MNKD was a bigger float. But Fred's done 81 million. It's done 81 million in dollar volume today. Most shorts are, trapped at this point for the most part, bar anyone who's short above 277. So we're above VWAP going into the afternoon. I like the chart. I may consider it. We'll see. If I'm trying to take a position right now, I'd probably be risking something like 270, 265 maybe. Say 265, something like that. So, I mean, you could size in accordingly on either of those levels, in my opinion, be okay. That being said, 270, would be much better if we're holding 270 going into the afternoon. So there's Fred, still decent. NLST was a surpriser. I don't even think that's a word, my bad. It was surprising. And it's making new highs right now. This was another gapper on Friday that actually closed near its lows. There's warrants and stuff like that. Usually, to me, this is kind of bullish, but obviously this thing gapped up and then held Friday's high. So something I just completely missed. I just completely missed that. Probably because I wasn't watching this pre-market and watching it set new highs during pre-market. Had I watched that and then seen it hold, this 42 level, I would have been all over it. So, yeah, this boat's gone for me. This boat's gone for me. It's a bit extended, especially with the warrants there and stuff. But I mean, pretty crazy. There's a chance this gaps up, obviously, and you get a nice gapper tomorrow too. But I don't know. This rejection here, like just these two candles are not pretty to me for now. Did pretty big volume on that last candle and then just got stuffed. So we'll see. Then we got some OTCs. Here's an oldie but goodie, DCTH. Really a liquid. I mean, it's done 200,000. It's done $500,000 in dollar volume, so not completely a liquid, but this is a reverse split. Most of you probably remember this trading, prior to it being an OTC, and it made a huge move from like 2 cents to the 30-cent range or 40-cent range, I forget. Anyways, reverse split recently and just a little pop today. I don't know what to make of it. I won't play it. Just interesting to see it pop up again. Sorry, guys. If you guys have questions, go ahead and shoot questions, too. I'm just kind of going through scans and stuff. BCCI is another super cheap penny stock I played in the past. They're like a coffee company, Baristas Coffee. They have white coffee. I don't know. That's not something I'm playing today. I played it back in the day, though. Like during this run up over here towards 10 cents. That was because something with Amazon, like they were selling some coffee through Amazon or something. So I know this thing can run, like into the 7-8 cent range. It has in the past. The news on this one was that they aired a commercial during NFL games yesterday. BCCI. Won't touch it. PPCB's hanging in there, kind of setting a new high, higher low on the daily chart. Somewhat interesting. Keep my eye on that one. CVSI is up another 25%. I'm sure you guys know about these ones already. Just kind of hanging in there. We'll see. Nothing for me. See some pot stocks. RETC's another weird runner. Won't touch that. Yeah, so I mean, there have been some, cheapy OTCs running recently, which is it's a pattern in and of itself, believe it or not. When you're seeing super cheap OTCs running, there's usually a reason for it. It's just that people are playing them. Let's see here. Jesse asked what price the NLST warrants. I'm checking real quick. I think they were cheap. Let's see. SBIC note. So it looks like, let's see here. There's a convertible note. The principal is $15 million. Payable in full on December 31st, 2021. $2 million shares of common stock at an exercise price of 30 cents per share. Yeah, I mean, it's nothing too crazy there. Let me see. 300,000 shares at 11 cents. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing there. The warrants here aren't major to where I'd be too concerned about it, I guess. I mean, particularly with the massive volume that it's doing. It's not like crippling kind of, warrants. So. John asked, do I usually keep my price scaled like this on my charts? Yeah, I'm comfortable with it. It doesn't bother me. Like my DAS charts are different, and it doesn't really bother me. I just see that, I see the price action, that's all. If you watch Modern Rock at all, like he's using like line charts, you know what I mean? It's not the most important thing. It's just understanding the key levels and how you play them at those points. So. What's everyone playing today? Have you guys been trading today? Tango was trading Fred, got out once it didn't break 288. Yeah, I do. I think it would be a decent overnight trade. Just very similar to MNKD's action and chart. The news is good in my opinion. They're going to be banking a lot of cash and going to be working hand in hand with Walgreens, who dominate the space. So. Yeah, I think it makes for a really good overnight. Jesse shorted from pre-market, covered on the dip, which is probably smart. Well, which obviously was smart, but same thing on MNKD. Some of these things have been gapping up big and then, failing to just fade all day. They've been setting new highs instead into the afternoons. Yeah, my OTC guys just playing OTCs. That's where it's at, man. I mean, the truth is, for the last week, my scans have been dominated by OTCs. They just have. The pot stocks and then just kind of some random ones as well. So there's been good momentum in the OTCs lately, and that's why I ended up, playing PBYA on Friday. I'm just not going to sit back and let the OTCs run without me. I know how to play them. SOAN, Mike played. Yeah, SOAN is one of the top percent gainers on my list. And it's another cheapo, penny stock. Set new highs today. Pavel played NLST from 40 cents. Nice, man. That's awesome. I mean, that was such a good entry whenever this was. Let's see. Obviously, yeah, I mean, that was a good entry today. And you could have had really clear risk at like 39 cents, a penny. Obviously, once it got over VWAP this second time, and, you know, that's just... I'm pretty bummed I missed that, because I would have gone pretty big on a trade like that. Really, really good move on NLST. Just missed it. And like I said, could make for a decent overnight. It's just quite extended, man. I mean, this thing's up from 15 cents a couple days ago. Jesse says he thinks the news is bad for them. Less revenue now for Fred. Yeah, but who are you to say? I mean, who knows? It could be decent. All that really matters is the reaction. You know, that's all that really matters. I don't care about the news. I'm not saying that this is going to go to like $10 and the news is that good. You know, there are small circumstances where there is news that I really like and would consider swinging for multiple days. I'm just saying you might get a day two out of this. That's all I'm saying. That the news is such that, okay, well, they're getting a shit ton of cash. You know, they're being paid by Walgreens. They're going to be working in conjunction with Walgreens. Their employees are going to be able to work at Walgreens if they want. Yeah, it's just the fact that there is a catalyst. They are receiving money. It's not bad news. The reaction's deemed good. The volume's big. It could certainly go a day two or a day three or day four. You know, you get enough people thinking that the same thing and it's going to do the opposite. So and that's all I'm looking for, guys. I'm not looking for something like, you know, I mean, once in a while you'll get conviction on a really good swing. But for the most part, in terms of catalysts, I'm just looking for, can I get a day two out of it? You know what I mean? So that, you know, that's all that it really comes down to. It's not, you don't have to judge the strength of put too much weight into the catalyst for the most part. Just did the catalyst, you know, bring volume in, make the stock react favorably, close near its highs with good volume. And that's usually enough. We're going into power hour now, so. Yeah, Jesse, you could totally construe that as some sort of merger type scenario, for sure. And LST right near its highs. I'm not going to chase it and buy it up here. I mean, there are two entries for me on this trade really, and that was the 40 break, and then when it held 39 3 times, you know, this kind of scenario, or possibly this break here. You know, once it got up back over VWAP. Excuse me. Ah. So new highs on NLST, and like I said, I'm just too late on this. I'm not going to chase it. If I had bought this anywhere up here in the 50s or 60-cent range, I would probably be at least taking partial profits already. I mean, if you're buying this at 50 cents and you got it all the way up to 60 cents, you know, you've already taken a 20% gain there. So 70 cents, you know, 40%. I mean, it's pretty crazy. It bodes well. I'm glad things are running a bit. When you get OTCs and some of these NASDAQs running, it's good. David asks, what do I think of SPRWF? Well, it's in a good sector. It's setting up for a nice multi-day breakout, if possible. It's something where I'll wait for the breakout. I'll definitely wait for the breakout. It's I think last week or the week before, I tried playing a couple of these like in anticipation of a breakout that didn't come, and then it just ends up heading back towards like $1.50 or $1.40. But if there's news, where do you see the news with Tilray? Because that is important if there's legitimate news there. Either way, in terms of the daily chart, I'll wait for this to break out, you know, for the most part. I mean, maybe not. It's more, you kind of have to treat it kind of like a swing. It's just not too rangy. Which is the same with a lot of these pot stocks. Like they can make for really good swings. You have to be super patient. They're just man, really struggling today. Whew. Supreme Cannabis signs cannabis supply agreement with Tilray. It's a good thing. I mean, these are some of the most surprising stocks there have been. If you look at Tilray, it's just hanging right on up there. Jesus. Sweet squeeze on NLST. Straight parabolic action in a power hour. If I were long, I'd definitely be taking profits. David asked, NLST trading over 40 million volume last 2 days. Is it, in this case, if it continues to go up the same amount of volume, can you consider past resistance useless? Yeah, I know what you're trying to say because the volume's so big. Yeah, I mean, in terms of past resistance, yeah, like all, and it's above most of this stuff now. So in terms of these resistance levels, yeah, they're important to look at, but once again, I don't give them quite so much weight. Like this move at this point, once you've gotten into day 2, day 3 becomes its own kind of entity for me. And then it's just going to be setting, unless there's some kind of major, a buck's major, usually. If it fails at a buck, then it's usually pretty dead for a while. Or if there are any major obstacles up here, like warrants or something like that, where it can run into, then that's important. It doesn't quite seem to be the case here. So for me, like I said, if it's doing huge volume like this, it's easy. Like it can trap its longs in one day and create its own resistance here. So once we get into this point, doing huge volume like this, it does become, more narrowed down to price action, and that's a big crack here. I mean, it was doing such major volume into this parabolic. This almost would have, I mean, you could have had a pretty decent short here already. And this is why I say, this 75-cent level it's not random. It did have some resistance on the daily chart, a long time ago. Back in 2017, but it comes down to this day, which is today, and massive volume getting trapped in here, and we'll see. This might just be a pull, maybe a buy opportunity. You still have a lot of shorts trapped from earlier in the day, promise you that, who are just covering to break even now. So pretty strong bounce there. But like I said, this has become its own entity now. Yeah, you got to look to the past resistance and whatnot, but mainly what's going to be important is how this chart sets up. And then you're looking at the 15-minute, looking for discernible trends, and you got higher lows here. So I mean, pretty picture perfect there on the 15-minute chart. So this is the kind of scenario where tomorrow, if you got kind of a weak open and maybe holds 50 cents, and then you might get a red green type of move. So I'll keep an eye on it. But you see what I'm doing here? This is the move, like the last couple days. So you want to see, and with the volume here, you want to see how it's reacted. So you just go out bigger time frames. This 30-minute chart looks pretty extended, and that's why I say a pull to 50 maybe by tomorrow morning might be a healthy thing. It may give it some more legs. So that's what I'm watching for. I'm not going to play NLST into close today. I'll be watching it tomorrow morning. So if we get kind of a weak open red to green move, and I can get some in the 50-55 cent range, then I still have some decent upside. And I'll just cut if it goes against me kind of thing. What was my other trade? EMHTF. I had bought some on Friday, and I got shaken out before it closed, you know, near the high day or whatever, which is fine. I think I lost like $500 or $600 because I had 6,000 shares. I believe it was this dip here may have shaken me out down. You know, I think my average was like 387, and I think this dip shook me out, and then it closed high day. And it's holding up today, so that would have been a nice profitable trade, but no big deal. Anyone else play EMHTF? Yeah, David got shaken out. Yeah, I mean, it's those dips. It's just what, you know, it shook me out. There's nothing else I can say. There's nothing else I can say. I wanted to see it close above like the 377, 378 level, and that shakeout got me. So there's EMHTF. Like I said, NLST after that crack right now, I'm not 100% sure I want to play this, but it did hold up decently. Like I said, I want my entry to be more near the 50-cent range, like tomorrow morning if possible. If this closes at like 50 cents today, I'm not sure I would take a position. I want to give it time for the morning, you know, to kind of continue along this trajectory, hopefully. Fred crack. Yeah, and if I'm in Fred, you know, that's basically going to be pressing my risk personally. David asking if 30-minute support at 271 could have been risk on EMHTF. Yeah, totally. Totally, 100%. I just kept it really tight. I didn't want to, you know, and the main reason for that for me was just it was a pretty big spike for the stock already. You know, so I mean, it had already spiked almost 40 cents on the daily. That's all. But the volume's good. I mean, it's a really clean chart. All these pot stocks have had really nice swing charts. I just haven't. It's hard to sit through something like consolidation like this, you know, if you're trying to swing this. Jesse's short his first T12. Nice. I've yet to be short a T12. Tango's also short OPK. Cool. Hmm. All right, give me a sec, guys. I'm going to run to the restroom. If you have questions, go ahead and shoot out the questions now, so we can get to it. I'll be right back. All right, we're back. Okay. Yeah, next week or this week, maybe tomorrow I'll start throwing DAS up and throwing level two up so we can go through like OTC level 2 and NASDAQ level 2. OTC level 2 is I find it to be pretty fun to watch when there's volume. And when there's not, either way, when there's volume or when there's not volume, you can usually find which market makers are controlling the action. And then it's a matter of trying to decide which way they're going to move it. And they're just kind of moving it to wherever the most volume is going to be. So if it means squeezing the stock, they'll squeeze the stock. If it means dropping the stock, they'll drop the stock. And they're also trading the stocks themselves, you know, so they're funky things happen. They don't want to be on the losing end. They want volume and being on the winning end of these stocks. Yeah, I mean, this massive volume on this move from 50 cents to 75 cents on NLST could have spelled the end of it. I mean, at times that's what happens. But we'll see. For me, it's not dead until this thing breaks down below 50 cents. And then I can say it's probably the backside of the move. Then you should get into kind of like a lower high, lower low game. And to me, that's fine. I'm not looking to short this, so. Even though I am looking to start short selling again. I'll tell you what, guys, I'm struggling. My body from yesterday's soccer game is not, it's not even funny. It's like 110 degrees out there. And I haven't ran in like 2.5 years. And I can tell you what, I'm a lot slower than I remember I used to be, that's for sure. It's almost comical. Papa John asked me, have I ever had issues with my trading after missing out on massive gains by selling too early? You mean like emotionally or psychologically, or like with my follow-up trades after that? Oh yeah, I've gotten a lot better at it. I'm more at peace with understanding that there are going to be times because of the way I trade that I miss out on massive moves. It's going to happen all the time, and I have to understand that I'm not swing trading. Like, I'm trying to swing shares if I can, but I'm not actually swing trading. So like, I understand if I take my small piece of the move, well, that's what I was going for anyways. So if it ran afterwards, yeah, of course you want to extend your gains as far as you possibly can. But even me, like, I've rarely had stocks that I've held for like 3 or 4 days that weren't bag holders, to be honest. Like, it's happened a couple times. Most of the time I'm looking for day 2, and all I want is that higher odds, one trade in and out type of move. So dude, yeah, that happens, and I'm finally more at peace. But what used to happen to me is I would sell too early, and that would and then I'd watch the stock run, and then the next play I'm thinking, okay, I need to hold a little bit longer, and then at times maybe I'll sell that one too early. And then you get to the third one, you're like, I'm going to be super patient. And then next thing you know, you have a big gain, get wiped out. So it's more of that on to the next kind of attitude. You know, and that's what's been helping the most for me in terms of dealing with psychological issues like that. Like, you still have to treat the next trade independently. Like, the only thing you're trying to take from your last, couple trades is understanding if you're in some sort of pattern that's in play, or, some sort of sector momentum, and then you kind of carry that with you and understand maybe these can run further, and then you can be extra patient. You know what I mean? Especially if your entries are good. But other than that, it's really it's just a fact of life, and it's something that we have to deal with. No one's going to capture massive percent gains every time. Like, once in a while, there are certain patterns where, like, even PBYA, like, that stock has shown it can move, 500% in a day, and it's so low priced. So something like that, yeah, you can make your 100% if this stock goes from 2 to 4 cents. But a lot of the time, it's not going to be percentage gains like that. So if you keep your expectations tempered and you understand it's a long-term thing, not big gains, I mean, as big a gains as you can, but the key really is small losses. If you can keep the losses small, no matter what, then you can still do well. It's just when you're getting great gains and then one loss wipes out a ton of gains, then that's when you have some fundamental risk reward issues or discipline issues, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. You know, missing out on the massive gains doesn't matter as long as you're not taking big losses. You know, if that's the case, you're still grinding away. I mean, I have a big account. I have several big accounts, and I'm not trading like massively. I'm still grinding out, you know, my whatever I can take. You know, I'm not like getting greedy and trying to get huge moves all the time. But I know that when I get something like PBYA where I've made 7K, okay, well, that's great. That's going to put me way ahead of the curve because I'm not going to friggin' lose that in one trade or even 10 trades. You know? I know that if I lose the next 10 trades in a row, I'm most likely still going to be green, like from this point. So as an overall, you know, an overall theme, like risk reward and respecting risk is always still going to be the most important thing you can do. As long as you can do that, you're going to be in a position where you can progress forward and compound the wins and minimize the losses and then get that ratio correct. You can't lose money that way if your ratio is correct. But yeah, of course it irks you, you know what I mean? And you try to be more patient, and you try to refine your process for what patterns are moving at the time and what the markets are doing at the time. You know? And you have to understand, like, if you're trading certain stocks within certain sectors, if you're trading stocks, you know, with certain floats, they're going to move differently, and you have to adjust your expectations. Like percentage gain wise. I mean, I made about 7K on PBYA on a 10K position. You know, that's like best case scenario for me. That's amazing. And that's not going to happen all the time. And could I have taken more size on a stock like that? Not really. Not safely, in my opinion. Not safely. So that is absolute best case scenario. But most of the time, that's not what I'm playing for. Is best. I mean, I'm playing for worst case scenario. You know, what's the worst case scenario? And then I build my trade upon that. Okay, here's the worst case scenario. Well, then I get to what's the best case scenario, you know? Which would be like on something like PBYA was like a break a high a day. Like a quick parabolic move. And I played it pretty perfectly. And it's probably one of the reasons it wasn't able to move this morning with it. I mean, I was selling here first thing in the morning. So, and it's not like a massive amount of shares, but you have to understand like what size you're holding in context of like what the stock that you're trading is, you know, what the float is, how it moves. And this thing was pretty volatile yesterday, like on Friday, I mean. This is PBYA. But yeah, I mean, those are issues that you just have to keep working through. And just understanding, like, you still have to trade the next trade objectively and independently. Like, the only things that you need to take into the next trade are the things that are helpful, which are what's the pattern that's been in play, you know, what sector am I in, where all the stuff we always talk about. If you're in the groove, like, and you're in the right area of the markets, that's what's important, not what, you know, how much should I have made on the last trade. Maybe be smarter sizing out or sizing in. You know, there are tweaks that you can make to be more patient in the future. If you see a pattern that you've seen and everything else, like the float size and the sector, whatever it is, are point towards a bigger move, then you can try to plan on taking that bigger parts of that move. So be it whether it's a little bit more size and then taking some size off pretty quick so that you can realize some decent profits and feel very comfortable, which is where I like to be if I can. You know, you always want to have the most size possible at the best possible times. It just seems to a lot of us to happen the opposite, and you have the most size possible at the worst possible times. but there is a way to go about it so you don't, which is not just take size all the time. You know what I mean? Just take size at the right times, and that comes with experience too. And you'll know because you'll feel comfortable when you get your move and you take your percentage off, and then you're just sitting on a great position. Oh my god. No way. Hello? What's up, dude? Damn, man. Sorry. I just got a text that one of my good old friends just died. It's pretty messed up. That sucks. Well, so I'm probably not going to trade now because that messed me up a little bit. Yeah, we're probably just going to call the rest of this thing off today. I can't concentrate too much right now. We'll do one we'll catch like tomorrow's close or tomorrow's open, something like that. And yeah, you guys know where we're at today. You guys know how I feel about everything already. So I'll catch you guys in chat in a little bit.